Right, Steve, I've had the pleasure of talking to quite a few successful backers, and you're the first one the first one I've met of the people that admit to studying form and not just getting their cards marked, who says that they also take notice of a network of, I assume a network of informants. Is it sort of inside info, as in you haven't seen the best of this one yet, as in it's been sort of not shown its best, or is it just this is fit, or a mixture of the two? Or I mean, why did you why did you go down that road where you're obviously very good at just picking your own winners?
It came the other way round, Simon, because I got talking again back when I was on the track. I used to speak to only a couple of trainers, and then there was a couple of owners I used to speak to. And then I started doing some place work for one of the trainers. He was quite a big trainer back then. He's not with us anymore, unfortunately. But I started doing quite a bit of placing, and not directly saying you should run this horse in this race, but basically he'd have horses entered up at whatever track, and then I would have a look at those races and just say, yeah, well, it looks to have a good chance because I think it's whatever weak race, or this is a really strong race, there may be you've got this and this to beat. And so at that time it just I think put him on the right track of where he should put those horses. That went on for quite a time, as a matter of fact. We became quite good friends. But what I did, or what really hit home with that arrangement, and in also other arrangements when there was a fairly big owner as well that I used to chat to with that. What told the story is whether they wanted to have their money on. So if I could put their few quid on with mine, then that just emphasised how well they fancied their particular horse. And that's really all that I do now. I would never ever back a horse just on information. But if there was a race where, using that example I said previously, where a horse hadn't run for a time, if you offer somebody the option of backing their horse at a fair price, bookmakers have always done it, used to do it years ago. They offer ex-trainer, ex-owner, a jockey, do you want to back your horse? They give them the best price. They know whether that horse is fancied or not. So I knew that the books were doing it then, so I thought, well, if the books are getting it and getting an edge, alongside my form work and what I'm seeing, surely it won't do any harm to have that on side with me. And really that's all that's happened. And I think to say it's a network of connections is a bit elaborate, that's a bit over the top. There's certain people, and especially in recent years, where the Irish racing has become very much intertwined with our own, that I needed information, because the Irish work a little bit differently to what we do with the way they place their horses and how they operate. It was a necessity that I tried to get that information because they were tying in, especially at the bigger meetings, at national hunt meetings. So it was a necessity that I got some information as regards them. So that's all that's happened. And basically now all I would do is, if I needed confirmation that a horse was okay, fit and well, then maybe having that quick brief chat, asking whether they were going to back it, it does no harm. But I still maintain, but for somebody to ring up and say, we've got a flying machine, it's been you should be backing this, I would never ever back it unless it tied in with my own form work.
Okay, now you concentrate on, if I got this right again, quality racing as opposed to the lower grade stuff.
No, not quite right, Simon.
No,
quality racing with a flat.
Right. Okay.
The flat I will only basically listed and above on the flat. All national hunt racing. National hunt racing is my passion. It always has been. And so I do all national hunt racing, and I watch all national hunt racing. The flat, simply by the amount of racing, the number of horses running, That's not to say I'm correct in doing it. For me, it suits. If other people concentrate on low grade flat, fine. Sprinters, fine. You do need to specialise. But because I've got that passion, always have had with national hunt racing, I've still got that now, and so that's why I follow national hunt racing. And with a flat, I needed, once the seasons are very much like they are now, again, the jump racing's throughout the summer, nigh on, you have a couple of 3 weeks off. Then to follow the flat in any more detail is practically an impossibility. I couldn't do it. So that's why I operate like I do.
Okay, there, a lot of people might have heard of you because you have been are you allowed to call you a tipster, or what would you describe yourself as? Since 1995 anyway, you've been offering your advisory service to punters. So it is, do you feel that you have to do a bit of flat to keep your punters happy, or is that not really?
And myself as well, I think, because I do enjoy, it's not that I don't enjoy flat racing, but top level flat racing is fantastic to watch. It's having the edge still. I feel I've been fairly profitable on the flat, but so selective on the flat. I'm just so selective because the markets just seem to be so accurate to me, and especially at that top level, because everybody's seeing it. Everybody's using every figure that you can think of, as far as time, top speed figures. And so therefore I find that the opportunities on the flat are very limited. But with the jumps, I still feel I have quite a significant edge, and that's why I prefer that.
So why did you decide to become an advisory service? I mean, just for one, it must put you under an awful lot more pressure than you're under if you're just doing your own money. When you've got people that are paying you and you're out of form, they're doing their cobblers. It must be, obviously, hopefully it doesn't happen that often. But why did you decide to share your knowledge like that?
It was a business. At that time, I've just again mentioned earlier, I was marking cards for bookmakers, other punters, and it was the heyday, I think, at that time of the premium rate telephone line. People were doing that, and it was suggested to me by two people in particular, but why don't you do this? There's people out there that are earning quite a bit of money that really haven't got a clue. They're using a bit of information. People are ringing these telephone lines, charging whatever it was then, and they were getting money out of it.
28p a minute, isn't it?
Oh, well, and keep on for 10 minutes. I'm not talking about the weather, but they said it would really work for you, and so I wasn't happy doing a premium rate line. I didn't think that, but I did think, well, yeah, why not? Why not share that? I say share it, but it was sharing it for a profit. It was a pure business venture. So I'm not hiding behind that. It wasn't, because obviously the question is always, well, if you're earning so much, why do you need to run a tipping service? Why do you need to run an advisory service? Well, I was going to earn more. That's the bottom line. And if that helped with bringing up a family, saying to my wife, well, we've got this income coming in as well as that income, then I'd be a fool not to do it. And it's just carried on. Again, from what it was like then to what it was like now is different. There's so much more information available now that people can gather free of charge. You can, the racing is covered in so much more detail than what it was then. Remember back then there were no videos. I was going racing and watching racing live, and then watching the replay in the tote shop afterwards, making my own notes, even when I started then was my own handicap and my own rating system, which I still maintain now. But so that situation, and then it goes back to what I was saying earlier about punters' mentality now. They seem to want a quick fix now. Why do people want to go into racing now? Are they looking to earn a profit? Do they just want to have the thrill of having a bet? If they just want to have the thrill of having a bet, then they can get a tip off of everybody. Pay the Racing Post to put up bets. You can go onto any of the websites that give you bets. But if you want to earn long term, if you think I've got X amount that I think I would like to have 10-15% profit on that at the end of the year, then I think, well, that's why I'm still running it. And that seems to be the clientele I've got at the moment, that have got that long-term view.
And the big danger about them, I suppose, in the current climate is you'd be a victim of your own success, because their account's going to be whittled down one after another. Is there any sort of practical advice to them when they first start? Is there anything you sort of say to them? This is what's going to happen to try. This is what's going to keep your accounts.
It's so difficult now, and I'm afraid the only advice now is make sure you're on the exchanges, because if you are, again, it's such a criticism I've got with the bookmakers, but you don't even need to be earning a fortune. It's flagged up if it comes up, whatever system they use, but if it comes up that this punter actually knows what he's doing, so they're having a type of bets what they think, that's there's somebody here that knows how to bet, then pretty much you're restricted and you can't do it. So therefore, what's the only way out? The only way out is, well, therefore you have to wait for the exchanges. You've got to bet on the exchanges, and that's why I think it's a sadness. And I still think now, going back to that, the bookmakers are still missing a trick. There's a lot of punters out there. They're not all going to be winners, but you're missing them simply because you won't allow them to bet unless they're betting on your online gaming, online casinos and gaming. They don't want them. They don't want to entertain them.
Okay, right. We're going to go into we want as many people that watch this to become those type of punters that the bookmakers don't want. So we need some bullet pointy type answers to these now.
Right.
The most important aspect of form, the least important aspect of form that novices concentrate too much on,
is to look at the over round. You need to look at it as a whole, and you also need to, I think, look at each race on its merits. I don't think there's an overriding strategy that you have to it. Each race on its merits. Try to opt, and therefore, if you just concentrate on the highest rated, then you discard going, you discard distance. No, you can't just go on the highest rated horse, even in a seller or a conditions race. Okay,
what's the most important thing in your mind that's often overlooked by your average Joe punter?
Form wise, I would say, is how that race would pan out. So it's all well and good having a horse that you think's got an excellent chance, but if that horse is only going to perform off of a strong gallop, and you've only got 4 horses, and none of them want to make the run in, and it can become messy. So it's actually how that race will be run. I think it's very important, and lots of the public won't do that.
Okay. Now, you said about the exchanges, so probably not a problem you've had to deal with, but quarter the odds of first 4 or fifth of the odds of first 5 when betting each way in handicaps?
Ooh. It depends very much on the race. So if you're talking to me about an E-boy handicap with 20 odd runners, and out of them you've probably got 15 chances, it doesn't make too much appeal to me. If you're talking about a race that, if you can narrow it down and you've only got 4 chances there, then I would go to 4. And if you can get on with the 5 places, then that's great. But it's a matter of whether you can narrow down. How does it, getting back to the old thing of value, how does it compare to my prices? If I'm 33 to 1 bar 4 or 33 to 1 bar 5, then maybe I could be looking at doing that. But if I'm honest, they're not bets that I'd have very rarely.
Okay, if you made something 5 on and you could get 2 to 5, would you back it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not put off its value wherever it
Oh
goes
yeah,
in the market.
yeah.
Okay, now then, this is the final one, so the most important one. The biggest lesson that any budding Steve Lewis Hamilton should learn before getting a 10 grand tank together, by whatever method, before they actually embark on trying to emulate what you've done. What would you like to have known when you were in that Smithfield Bank getting your readies together to go to battle that you learnt since?
Is is trying to assimilate as much knowledge as you can. There were things that I didn't know, so it would have been great to know at that time what bookmakers, and you would know this, sire, what bookmakers had a friendship with an owner or a trainer. And it's something I think I touched on a little bit earlier, so that you knew if a particular bookmaker was in effect going a bigger price about a certain trainer's horse than you think it should have been, that you think, but they've had a word. I got caught out on a couple of times quite majorly with that, and it was up north, and there was a particular big bookmaker that used to train, that used to be good friends with a very big northern trainer, and if he ever went over the odds that trainer's horse, you knew that there was something wrong. So that knowledge would have been quite nice and would have saved me a few quid in the early days.
And in the modern era, similar thing?
Yeah, I think it just comes back to knowledge. You can't have for me, you can't have too much. What it does do is make it very complex. But and that people don't find that attractive. They would much rather think it's far simpler. This is in life in general. It's far simpler if it's black and white. But unfortunately, as with all things in life, things are a million shades of grey. So you've got to assimilate as much knowledge as you can, then be able to dissect it. Whether if you're betting on a football match again, get all the information you can about that football match, about the teams that are playing, why he's playing him there, why he's playing him there, what's the motive behind that match. A lot of the time, the prices will only be what you come to, but knowledge is the key.
Okay, well, I think through 4 episodes there, we've learnt quite a lot of knowledge. So, Steve Lewis Hamilton, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.